In this video, we continue making our application, dog breed application based on React, and we will make fetch. We will make API call and fetch the data from this API call in order to get this list of breeds here, so the user can choose any breed and it will be the picture will be displayed here for this particular breed. Before making this API call and fetching the data, I would like to explain in a way that any person who is just starting with React can understand how the application works, why we use this code, these functions, how they work, and why do we apply them, because it's essential to understand rather than just follow somebody's code or copy paste it. So I will try to explain it in the same way as my husband was teaching me. In our application, we have a custom select component and a custom image component. Somewhere in the internet there is an API that can provide the necessary data, and ReactJS will make an API call and obtain the data about all the breeds. This information will be displayed as a list of breeds, where a user can select a breed from drop-down. This selected breed will be noticed by the application and will be transferred to the image component. Having this info, image component will make API call to get a random picture for the selected breed and will display it for the users. That's how works our application. So this is select component, this is image component, and this is menu component. When our application makes call to API, this is actually the website where it goes to make API call. I will leave it in the description to the video. So as soon as we load our application, it goes to API and brings the list of breeds, and then when we select the breed, any breed, it gets the information. This image breed component gets the information about this selected breed, goes to API again and brings this picture, displays this picture here. So we will make all these functions in app.js file. Let's go to our app.js. And we'll need to start with the state. So state is an object that we would write after we declare the component. And depending on this state, our application will behave in a different way, obviously. So the easy way to explain it is the same as your state. So let's say that this object is not this component is not app component, but instead of this name there is your name, and this state will be your state. And by state, we will mean many different things. For example, mood, just as one of the characteristics. And by default, here we set the default when we declare our state. By default, let's say it's bad. Well, let's put it into string. And depending on this state, you will behave differently. So our application shows something, behaves, And in the same way, you show something, you display something in your life, depending on your state. So to show this dependency, we will pass the state into one of our elements here. Let's say on click or on touch. If anybody touches you, anybody clicks you, we will have here this, because it's from this component, state, because it's from state, and then mood, because it depends on this mood. So right now in the morning, for example, by default you have bad mood, and your behavior will show it, definitely. And then we want to change the state, let's say, then we will need some function. So it will be some function. Let's make it an arrow function. And here we will change this state, this, because it's in this component, set state. This is how we change this state. Brackets and curly brackets inside. And your mood is not bad anymore. It's good, let's say. Again, the string. Let's say it's good. So let's say now it is afternoon and the application will behave depending on the mood now. So every time it goes to state and checks the mood. As we changed it, now it's good. So the behavior of our application will be different, definitely. So if you understand that, it will be easy for you now to understand our code. So definitely our dog breed application doesn't need mood, but it needs the breeds list. So this breeds list, by default, we don't have it. So by default, let's put it to now. And also in our state, let's mention error, because our application will check for errors and will display error messages for user if there are some errors. By default, we don't have any errors, so we put it to false. This is how we set our state initially. And then we actually gonna fetch the data with the function. So instead of this some function, we will use, let's say, fetch all breeds function. Let's name it like this, fetch all breeds function. And this is arrow function as usual. And what we will do in this function, we will try to get response from API call. So we will fetch the data from this API call. We go to our website with API, we just copy this URL. This URL application uses to make a call. Pass it here. And that's how we will get the response. But this response will be in not appropriate format, I guess. Let's check it. Let's just go ahead and make this API call manually by ourselves. And that's what we get. So if you see it in a different way, it's probably because you don't have installed React from extension. So go ahead and install extension for Chrome, React, then you will see it in this way in your browser. This is all the response that we get. Definitely we don't need it all, because we will need only the list like this. That's why we should work a little bit on this response. So let's go ahead and just get data. So different type. We get data from response, and we apply JSON method on it. So JSON method will convert this information into a readable format. And then we will change the state. Based on this, we will not have null anymore in grids list. We will put the information into grids list. We will put the information that we get, these grids names, into this grid list. So we change our state. How do we change it? As you remember, it's this, because it's in this component, set state. And then brackets and curly brackets inside. And our grids list is not empty anymore. It will contain object.keys, data, message, because we will need this, what is inside the message. The message is an object, and inside it has a list of arrays with all these grids. That's how we make our how we set up our function. But we need to apply also async await syntax to it in order to make this function asynchronous, because our application needs to wait for the response. The response doesn't come immediately, and meanwhile it can do different other things and wait for response. So our application is promises, this is the promises that it will bring us data when it gets it. So to apply this async await syntax, we just type async here before the arrow function, and await here before fetch and before response JSON. And now our function is asynchronous. Then we will need to tell our React when to call this function, because everything in React happens in a particular time, particular order. React application and component behaves according life cycles, and it's similar to our human life cycles. Like at some point in our life we are born, and then we have our childhood, and then we grow and develop, and then eventually die. And the same with components. So components are mounting in very particular strict order. React will mount these components in a particular order. It's the same as when you get furniture from Amazon, and then you will assemble it. So you will assemble it in a particular order, and in a particular order React will assemble or mount his components. So the methods will be called in the following order. First of all, the constructor method will be called, then component will mount method will be called, then a render method that you see here will be called, and application will show everything that we put here. So when we reload our application, we see that the first thing that we see is these elements here. We have application with background, so we saw background uploaded. We see menu and select and grid image, and we got menu and select container without anything inside, it was in the beginning, and grid image we got in the beginning, this image container. And then we saw, let me show you again, we saw this loading sphere, and only after the information was loaded, we got this grids list. So we want our grids list to be loaded after all these things are displayed. And it means that it will be at the time of component did mount method. So after render, React will call component did mount method, and we will put our function fetch all grids into this method component did mount. Actually, we just put the reference, not the whole code. We just put here this, because it's in this component, and the name fetch all grids, and we call it. This is the difference. Here we just declare the function, and here we call it because we put these brackets. So it means that we call it this fetch all grids inside the component did mount method. And another cool thing that I would like to apply here is try catch syntax. So try catch syntax, well, we will need it in this fetch all grids function in order to tell React, try to perform this function, but if you have any errors, any obstacles, problems, catch them. Do not break the whole application if there is some error. Just show error message and go ahead. It's very good for user, because if you see that your application crashed, you can obviously fix it. But if the user will be using your application, it's better for them to see the message like, sorry, we cannot upload the data because of internet connection problem, or because of other problem, or like there are errors 404 or 403 that permission is not, there is no permission, it's not allowed for you to see the content, or like 404 not found. That's why we will apply try catch syntax here. So when we declare this function, we type try and curly braces, and here inside we will put our function body. So for you, I will give here the comment like check if status is not check if status, Here I will put the comment try to get the data. Try to get. Here I will put the comment try to get data. So it tries to get data, to get this response, making this API call, and if response okay, then we will make all these changes, work with response and change state if response is okay. So what does this mean? This response is okay. Our application will check if status code is 200. You can see this if you inspect and check the network. So when we make API call, we get status 200, and sometimes it could be different code, like if we don't have internet, let's say, and trying to do so it will be failed because it will be different status of this Now let's go back to our code. If response okay, now we take this response and convert it in different format, JSON format, and we also change the state. And if not, so we write else. If it's not okay, then we would like to change the state, this set state, then brackets, three places inside, and let's change our error from false to true, because it's not okay, there is an error, so it's true. And let's show the user, let's show the alert, something like sorry, cannot display the data, something like this. Obviously it's your own choice what text to use here. And then we catch so it was error here and the state and alert here, and then we catch the errors. Let's pass event here. Our application will catch the errors, and I will give this comment for you. Code will jump here if there is network problem. And if there is a network problem, we will change the state. So we type this set state brackets and curly braces inside, and error also will be true now. And we also want to make this alert, this message. We're running this one. And that's how we set this function. And then we need to show this information in select. So here in select, we don't have this on click mode. We will actually show here the grids list. Grids list from this component. We type this state and grids list. And also arrow, we will pass to this select component is arrow if there is some arrow in our state. So React will go to state and check what status for arrows we have. This state arrow, whether it's true or false, and save it. And we can make commit as setup fetch all grids function. But still we cannot see it in our application here, even if we reload it. Why? Because we don't see our select at all. We have this element here, but if we go to our component and check what is inside, we only told React that we want to show the container, and React actually shows the container. If you inspect it, you will see that we have this container here. See, select container. There is this container here, but it doesn't contain anything inside, so we don't see anything, and that's why we need to set it up. We need to set up what we will see inside, depending on the data that we get from API call. And let's do it.